This is the Business Hour in partnership with Network B2B, helping you share your passion, knowledge, and make great connections.
You're listening to the Business Hour podcast. It's Steve out and about in Leeds, talking with Neil Boothroyd about alternative dispute resolution. We've talked about adjudication, we've talked about mediation. Today we're talking about arbitration. Now, when I think of arbitration, Neil, I just think about the old unions, right? Tell me more about how arbitration works in your industry.
Okay. Arbitration, Steve, used to be really common about 20, 30 years ago before the introduction of adjudication into the construction industry. It's making a bit of a resurgence and is really popular on larger disputes and certainly international contracts. The great thing about arbitration is it's got that international mechanism where an arbitral award can be enforced around the world. So if you're dealing with companies who aren't necessarily based in the UK but operate in the UK, or if you're working on a project overseas, if you've got an arbitration provision that allows you to settle your disputes by arbitration, then wherever you are in the world, generally speaking, there's a good chance that you can have that award enforced at the place or with the company that you're working with.
So Neil, how does that differ from mediation then?
Oh, massively. So mediation's a non-legal process, which is more about negotiated settlements and reaching a consensus. Arbitration, if you think of arbitration, it's more like going to court, but it's like going to court in private. So an arbitrator is like a private judge. All of the proceedings are private and behind closed doors, but the process is more like going to court, but less formal. You don't have the formalities necessarily of the entire court proceedings, and it's not necessarily governed by a legislative procedure. There's a number of different what are called model rules that can be referred to or used in an arbitration proceedings, but it's also quite flexible, that can be tailored to suit the parties' needs. Think of it as a private court. That's what you get from an arbitration proceeding.
And what would your role be in that procedure then?
So there's two functions that I perform. I act as arbitrator, so I would sit as if you like, the private judge, the arbitrator, the person making the decision and writing the award, and hearing the evidence from both sides. But I also act as a party representative in pulling together all the evidence and substantiating their claim and making the arguments on behalf of one of the parties.
Right, okay. And you mentioned international, and so, but could it just be an arbitration in the UK? It could be anywhere?
Domestic arbitration in the UK, like I say, is coming back into becoming more popular. The great thing about arbitration is that it provides a final and binding outcome, whereas adjudication is seen as only a final outcome. It's not necessarily binding. You still go to court and have your day in court after that. Once you've been to arbitration, that's pretty much the end of the matter, as good as a court decision.
And Neil, going to arbitration less expensive than going to court?
There's a lot of debate about that, and it depends on the nature of the dispute, but arbitration can be as, if not more, expensive than going to court. As well as having your legal representation and your sort of counsel and your solicitors and barristers representing you potentially, and all the experts that might be involved in producing your evidence and your claim, you've got to pay the cost of the arbitrator, and the rooms in which the arbitration is being held. If you go to court, the judge is free, he's paid for your taxes, and the courtrooms are free and all the rest of it.
Neil, you know, over the few weeks we've met, you've talked about various things. You've got lots of expertise in this area of work that you do. Well worth having a chat with you and making that decision to have a chat with you before you make it, the client makes a decision on where to go next. So how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. My website address is www.ncgbconsulting.uk. You can get me on the email, neil@ncgbconsulting.uk, or a good place to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so look me up and ask me to connect.
Brilliant. Once again, thanks for joining us on the Business Hour.
Thank you, Steve.
Like to share news about your business, event, seminar, or workshop? Simply email steve@stevetwynham.com. This is the Business Hour in partnership with Network B2B, helping you share your passion, knowledge, and make great connections.
The Business Hour podcast is produced and presented by Steve Twynham. Copyright applies.